So the clocks have gone back, it's dark nights, the courses are wet and soft, and it's pretty much time for golfers to go into hibernation. But you know who's not going to be hibernating this winter? Scratch golfers. In this video, I'm going to give you 6 different tips that you can use, that scratch golfers use regularly to keep their games going and to help you score lower in spring. So the first thing to talk about is club fitting. Now we know that brands like TaylorMade and Callaway all bring out new gear pretty much every winter. So it's this time of year where golfers should be going out and testing new equipment to see if you can make any gains, be that in driver distance, driver dispersion, iron distance control, accuracy, or whatever. Now, if you don't have a big budget to spend on club fitting, the other thing you can do is actually just go get your lofts and lies checked. Amateur golfers all the time struggle with hitting it left and right. They blame the swings when actually it's the equipment's fault. If you've got bad lie angles, then you're not going to hit the ball on target very often. And if you haven't had your lofts and lies checked and gapped recently, then you might find that you have 2 clubs in the bag that go the same distance and then a massive gap in between other clubs. So you want to go find your local PGA Pro who's got a loft and lie machine, get checked out and make sure that the distances between each of your irons is appropriate so that you've got the right tools for the job this time next year. Do you subscribe to NCG Your Golf? Well, if you don't, we would really appreciate if you consider subscribing. You can expect to see loads of new tips videos, some rules videos from us, as well as the equipment content that you would expect from us. And if you do already subscribe, if you could please hit that like button and leave a comment, then that would be great as well. So the second thing scratch golfers do in winter that most golfers don't is speed training. So adding 20 yards to your driver will save you 2 shots around according to strokes gained data, and that doesn't include the added benefit of having a 9-iron into the green instead of a 7, so it's well worth looking at trying to gain distance. So you can grab yourself a set of speed sticks, a stack system, or even just a knockoff version off eBay and find an online program, an overspeed training program, and follow that progressively for 12 weeks, 24 weeks. And what you'll find is when you come out again in March, you'll be hitting the ball way further. Now, you do need lots of space for this, so don't do it in your garage, don't do it inside. Find a nice outdoor space because they're going to want you running and swinging swinging wrong-handed, and no one looks good doing that. No one's got a good feel for swinging wrong-handed, and you need some space so that you don't break anything. So if you go out, find some speed sticks, find an overspeed training plan, and even get in touch with a personal trainer, then if you go get stronger, get quicker, you're going to find that you come March, you're hitting the ball a bit further, a bit straighter, and the whole game's just a bit easier. So playing in winter means fewer competitions, which means there's a great opportunity to actually work on your technique and make some of those difficult changes that you wouldn't normally do mid-season. So what you'll do when you're practicing is actually a lot more block practice as opposed to random practice, because you're able to stand on a driving range with nothing in the diary and you can just grind on something that feels really uncomfortable but in the long term will improve your game. So this would be something like a grip change that I would never suggest someone to do in the middle of summer unless the grip was really the root cause of the problem and would give them an immediate fix. But in the middle of winter, I'm much more likely to suggest to a golfer, right, let's get your hands on the club differently, because I know you're not going to play in a round that counts for at least 6 months, and that's more than enough time to make a grip change bed in. So I'm just going to stick a grip trainer on this iron, get it aligned right, make sure that my practice is perfect, get my hands in the right place, and now I can spend some time hitting some shots, 60, 70, 80 balls in a row, just with one club, getting a feel for the new grip, trying to feel where my grip is relative to the club face, relative to the target, to make sure that my awareness is improving all the time so that when I do go out to play, I'm still hitting the ball straight towards the target. This of course doesn't have to be a grip change. What you should do is seek out a PGA Pro or a golf coach who you can explain to them that you're going to have this block of time where you've got nothing to do other than just beat balls and work on something different, so they can give you a proper plan and help you understand that you need to change this in your technique for this outcome, and you need to do this very slowly, give you some drills, and just accept that when you go and do block practice, the results actually shouldn't be that good. Because if you're working on something that's different, then you will see some different shots to normal. So don't be surprised if you hit loads of thins, loads of fats, a few shanks. It doesn't really matter. We're in like a build phase of our season where we've broken things down and we're rebuilding them so that next year we've got this really solid platform to play from of good technique, which we're going to do now. So just because the greens are wet, soft and bumpy doesn't mean we stop practicing our putting. If you've got a relatively decent carpet at home or in the clubhouse at the golf club, then you can still work on your stroke. So we should be using this time when the courses are short or the greens are rubbish to really work on the fundamentals of our stroke. So is our grip right, is our posture right, and is our stroke somewhat straight to slightly arced? So something I like to do is either just hit some putts down the carpet, or even I've got a Visio mat with a board with some tees on, so I can actually work on my stroke all the time, visually seeing if my putter's tracing the black arc and am I starting the ball on line. I know that I've always putted my best after a significant amount of time just drilling in block practice again, my stroke, just because then I can go on the golf course, I know my stroke's good, I know I'm hitting putts on line, and then when I get out on the golf course, all I have to worry about is good reads and good pace. So in my view, indoor putting practice has actually never been easier. Back when I was a kid, I used to spend time having to build gates or trying to find flat putts at home, where actually now that Visio brought out all of these fantastic training aids, then it's really simple just to work on your stroke. So all I'm looking to do is try and have the top line of the putter trace that black line on the way back. And I'm also keeping an eye on, is my putter face matching these individual putter face lines, or is it opening or closing? So it's actually really quick to diagnose when someone's either pulling it inside, pushing it outside, opening the face too much, because you can visually see where the putter should be traveling and how the face should be arcing. So I like to spend 10 minutes of any indoor practice session or any just quick winter putting session, just taking the putter back, checking my putters on line and that the face is square, and then just hitting putts through the gate, making sure that everything is good. What we have to understand is that there's a big difference between practicing to get fit for a tournament and then just practicing to keep our games going and practicing to improve our games. So if I was preparing for a tournament, I really wouldn't be doing any stroke stuff, and I would just be working on my holding out, my pace control, where because I've got no tournaments till April and the greens aren't very good, I can just really focus on my block technical practice, and that it gives me a really solid platform of good technique to then take to my season. So one of the things that really helps shorten winter and bring the season closer is actually planning your season ahead. Scratch golfers are always looking for like early season competitions, probably away from their home club if they play at an inland parkland course, just to get out and play some early season golf to get a feel for how the winter practice has fared out. Sitting down in October and pulling up all the different competition lists for the new year on NCG Top 100 Tour, what you'll find is there's hundreds and hundreds of events to play in, so you can just pick out the ones you fancy at the courses you like or you've never played before, and having those things in the diary really helps give you some focus and actually makes you want to go practice. Something I encourage people to do is actually pick out 4 majors where they go to special courses or they're on special dates, where you can periodize your golf practice and your training in the gym all for these big 4 majors where you really want to go and play well. So you might go on Top 100's tour, have a look, see when the Lytham tournament is, because that's a really special venue, and then right, okay, well, if I'm going to play in one big event here, I need to play in 3 smaller events to build up to that, and that means prior to those 3 tournaments, I need to have a really solid block of practice where I'm playing and practicing regularly in order to be prepared for those different stages. If you're really keen, something that a lot of scratch golfers have done is actually have a look to see if you can go to Portugal or somewhere warm in the early season. The winters in England seem to be going on and on and on now compared to what they used to, so getting out to Portugal in February, March time, maybe even April, will get you going quicker. They give you a good sense of how your game is, and they're going to help you focus your game, focus your practice, so that the rest of the season is good. So I've always played my golf at inland parkland courses, so they get really wet, really muddy, and are basically closed all winter. So one of the things we used to do all the time is we would always get a big group of people and we would travel over to the seaside to play at a links course. Now that for us was only an hour to 2 hours away, so it wasn't too bad and it was a great day out, but it really is good to do with your pals just to keep you competitive. So getting out and playing a links course, even if it's a shortened winter course, is way better because the turf is firm, the greens are relatively decent, and you can still go out and have a competitive round. And I would really suggest people get out and play 2 or 3 times in a competitive group in winter on a playable golf course, just to sort of take the temperature of your game. Am I working on the right things? Am I still seeing that left miss that plagued me all summer? Or am I seeing that less and less often now? The point of practice is to get better on the golf course, and it is to get better in competitive rounds. So you need to go out and do some competitive golf in winter just to make sure that you're progressing on the right track. Now, if you do live in the middle of nowhere, the courses are short and you can't get to a links course, getting on an indoor simulator is probably the next best thing, because you can still get a group of guys together, all four of you, put some money in, set up a tournament, and actually feel the pressure. I know indoors you don't get the same lie problems, wind problems, weather problems, bunker issues, but playing for something like a coffee or Snickers or some cash does put you under pressure, because no one likes losing. And when you put under pressure, we all know our technique changes a little bit, and that's when you can acid test your swing changes, acid test your practice, and make sure that you've been working on the right things. So hopefully that all makes sense. I think there's some decent strategies there and decent things that you can go and work on, try and have a think about, that will definitely help you improve your games. So those are a few things that I suggest to the players that I teach to keep them going through winter in order to have better games come spring. We know this is the hardest time of the year, certainly between October and January, because everything's dark and the season feels an awful long way away. But if you can do some block practice, have some planned sessions, plan your season, get out and have a couple of decent games on links turf or in simulators with your mates, then that'll keep you going, it'll bring the season closer, and then you'll be ready to get going as soon as we hit the 1st of March.